Alright, so while the players are setting up their match, you might be wondering why I'm commentating, and that is because the venue is playing copyrighted music and I can't have that on the channel. So instead I had to mute the clip and I'm going to provide you my commentary instead, because just having music over the whole clip is going to be a bit boring. So I'm going to be commentating the entire best of 3, and yes, Top Cut in Brussels was best of 3. So now we can see the matchup is between Jey, who's playing Time Leap, and Nordine, who's playing the Freezeray Messiah deck, and it looks like Jey mulligan 2, while Nordine seems to keep his hand. So it's also been a while since I've watched this match, so most of it is fresh, so this is pretty much the next best thing you're going to get to live commentary. So he mulligans 2, draws back a Perfect Guard and a heal, I believe, and I missed out on which one goes first, but it seems that it's Nordine. So he draws his first card, and he's going to ride into the Perfect Guard and ending his turn. Jey draws into the crit, and if I'm not mistaken, he seems to be missing a grade 2, but I'm not sure. So he rides into the Perfect Guard, swings for 6, and gets the Bali, so that's alright. I'm not sure if he had the grade 3 or not, but anyway, 1 damage to the Messiah player. He gets the other grade 3 he plays. I actually wonder, I haven't seen his grade 3 lineup yet, but I wonder how many of that grade 3 he fit in there. So I zoomed in a bit there just to show just a bit, because there's a lot of glare in the room because of the light setup. So he swings with a 14, gets a crit to Vanguard, power to the rear, gets 2 damage, no triggers on the receiving end, and this is going to be a 21k column on the 6, which is a bit devastating, but he just takes that like a champ. So draws his card, and he does have the grade 2, so that was just my mistake. And he has 2/3, so he'll be fine on his next turn as well, so that's definitely good for the timing player. He drops one of these Stride Fodders and reveals the Chrono Jet just to do some filtering, so definitely a valid play there. So he's just gonna basically filter through his deck and shuffle and pass the cut, and discard the extra Chrono Jet that he drew. So he swings for 12 on the rear guard, which is definitely gonna get pesky if he doesn't get rid of it right now. So Nordine is probably going to go for the protect. Yeah, he has the 5k draw, so, and he's going to attack with Vanguard on the rear guard, which is also definitely a solid play. Let's check if Nordine actually protects this one. He might drop the no pass, but I think, yeah, he lets it pass. Alright, so he gets the History Maker in hand, which is definitely something you want for your next strike turn. So Jey is looking in a really stable position right now. The Freezeray comes out, which is it's really important that right now Nordine is only at 1 damage, so the amount of blocking that Freezeray is going to do is going to be immense. So definitely going to be very scary the next few turns. So this is a deck that we've been seeing at some regionals that's been topping a lot more than expected, but it's been a good deck since basically people discovered it, so I'm not surprised that it's topping either. So he no-guards the attack, there's a crit, and no second one, so 2 damage. He's already at 5 on his turn 3, so that's pretty devastating. But let's see how Jey can recover from this one. So he rides the Time Leap, he rides the Chrono Jet, my bad, and then he uses the Bali to stride, and he's probably going to stride into the Phoenix. Yep, there we go. So this is going to be a pretty devastating turn, and a ruling question is going to come up in pretty soon, but I'm not going to talk about it just yet. But he uses Chrono Jet's skill to spin the starter, so there goes that pesky little thing. So he's not going to be able to stride as much now, because that's basically what the starter usually provides. He calls out the Melem, which is a very important part of the Time Leap deck, and the ruling question is going to actually merge from Melem. So he uses his effect to attack with the 11, and normally at the end of the battle he's going to be able to search out a grade 0, and Melem's going to basically go back to the deck. But because of Freezeray's interaction, which you'll see in just a second, so he takes a damage, right? So Freezeray's effect activates and he locks the Melem. So now we're having a little ruling dispute, because normally if he chooses to lock the Melem, if this was like, let's say, any other card, it would not be able to use the skill. But because Melem activates its skill at the, so like there's a little cut here, but basically the ruling that we concluded in was that because Melem first activates her skill by getting the +4, you can still search out the grade 0, but Melem will get locked. So she doesn't go back, she gets locked, but because you already started the skill, the +4, you're going to be able to finish it. Now, this is the ruling that the judges decided on, and I believe it should be correct. And so there's just a little bit of a dispute. People are checking rulings and generally just talking in between each other. So there's a conclusion that, you know, it can be searched out. So now the judges are just explaining And yeah, so he gets locked. He gets to search out the Grade 0 Orotar, which is also definitely big, an important piece, combo piece to the Time Leap deck, which allows you to gain a lot of advantage. So now he's still looking at it, like, even though his field's gonna be getting locked because of Freezeray's effect, like, it's still looking good because now he can swing with the rear guard. Like, it's a 12 swing, but, you know, like, it's still something. It's just small little attacks, and, you know, if he lets it through, he's basically, you know, not dropping a 5k shield, which we can see he lets through just to lock it, and locking this one doesn't really hurt as much because it's just a stride fodder. So he's going to use Metallica Phoenix's skill on attack to Time Leap the Orotar. He's going to Time Leap it into GG, I believe, because that's pretty much the only remaining good option for him. So he gets into the GG, and you'll be able to use your skill to Soul Blast to draw a card. And now, he also, yeah, so now he's gonna pass the deck to cut, and then use Orotar's skill to bot deck it, draw 2, and he's also gonna put 1 back. So that's a pretty solid turn for him, I believe, because essentially this isn't a really good matchup for Time Leap at all, because, you know, your Melems are getting locked, your upstreams get locked, and all that stuff. So now he also uses GG's skill to, but they tell him that he forgot to triple check, so he has to put the GG back, and the judges said it's fine because it doesn't actually interrupt the game state. So now he's going to triple check, get the square one, get the crit, and get a stand. So putting Nordine up to 5, which is definitely nice. Now he gets another 2 locks, but it's not too important because now at the end of turn everything's going to get unlocked. So this isn't chaos, so it's actually not too bad. So now Nordine is going to draw his card for turn, and there's a little bit of shakiness with the camera because my hands were getting a little bit tired, so do excuse that. But he's gonna be able to stride here, I believe. I think he'll drop 2 for the stride. I think that's kind of the decision he's making right now because he doesn't have a 3 or a stride fodder to drop, but he does need to stride because he won't be able to do much on his turn otherwise, and he still doesn't have GB1 or anything. And again, I zoomed in just to kind of show some cards because it's not, you can kind of see the glare is pretty bad, like the Melem is barely visible, and the Chrono Jet as well. So he drops the Duskblade and that 8k grade 2 to stride. The build is quite interesting, like he's definitely playing some interesting grade 2s, and the grade 3 space is also quite interesting. So he's gonna stride. Let's take a look. He has his G-Zone as well, so like the entire deck build is very interesting because he runs Blitzas and he runs 4 Amnesties, and there we go. So he goes into the Amnesty, and he runs 4 of them, as I mentioned. So that's a big part of his deck, as I noticed, because he goes into a lot of those combos with basically just attacking with the field, locking itself, and then using Amnesty skills to unlock it all, get extra attacks, get a lot of power, get the critical. It's the turns are very explosive of the deck that Nordine plays. So he plays the 2 crits as well, so he's going to be able to draw a lot, which, you know, it's just an equal exchange, but you get more soul. So he's going to attack with that column is going to be a total of, I believe, 15. So with the plus 2k boost that the Freezeray Messiah got, so now he's going to lock it, and then lock the... Yeah, so he's going to lock the TikTok, which is definitely a good idea. And then he's going to go for the other Freezeray Messiah, and Jey blocks that one as well. And let's see if he's going to lock that one. I mean, it makes sense to lock it, so he's going to lock that as well. And... okay. Alright, so now he's going to be swinging with the Amnesty and getting a plus 10k buff from the 2 critical triggers that the skills he has to use, and he gets the 3 unlocks, which gives him another extra power boost, and the critical as well because he unlocked 3. And yeah, he has to draw the 2 cards from the effects of the criticals. And so now Jey has to basically decide. I mean, obviously he has to guard it, so he's gonna G-guard it. Let's see if he goes for the Uru or the other one. Nope, he's going for the other one from GBTO 7. So now he's going to use his G-Guard and use his skill to return the grade 1 to deck, and he's going to be able to search out a grade 0, and if he does, the G-Guard is going to get plus 10k shield. So that's going to put him at 36k power now, and he also gets a TikTok on the field, which is definitely nice. So let's see what... I still don't think that's going to be enough shield, because the Stride should be attacking at around... Oh, okay, he's adding more shield, but it should be 36 plus 9, so that should be at 45. But correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, he checks the Perfect Guard, a Stride Fodder, and that grade 2 that I Heavy Material Dragon. There we go. So he's able to guard that pretty well, and now he still has some extra attacks. So he's gonna attack with this one. That's gonna be, I think that's just 16 this time because he loses the plus 2k that he had on call, and now. I questioned that part a bit because he still has that right Arrestor Messiah, which he could use to attack the Melem, but he didn't for some reason, so I guess we'll just go with it. So now it's Jay's turn. He's going to stride using the square 1, and he's going to another Metallica Phoenix. So definitely abusing that Metallica Phoenix is a very threatening stride. The amount of combos you can do is insane, and especially now that his opponent is at 5 damage, he won't be getting those random locks in his turn anymore. So he's going to swing with the Melem for 11. So this is going to be a much more standard time leap turn that we're used to. So let's see. He's going to block this one with the intercept, so that's a perfect block there. And now he's going to use the Melem skill to call out the Urwatar. And then he's going to use History Maker. He's not going to hit, but he can use the skills, Counter Blast 1 and Time Leap the Urwatar, to bring back the Melem. And now he's going to be able to use Urwatar's skill as well to check the top 2 and, well, put the top 2 in his hand and then put 1 card from his hand to his deck. So let's see, he draws a 2, he has a draw, and I think that's another Melem in his hand that he got. And I like the way that he kind of like takes the card out of his hand, because it kind of doesn't really give the opponent information if it's a card that like was recently put into his hand or not. Anyway, he's going to attack with another Melem, just the 11, so he's definitely abusing what he can right now because he has a TikTok, he has the Metallica Phoenix, he can do a lot of shenanigans right now, and that's just the 5k block, so that goes through. And there's another Urwatar, and now he's going to use Metallica Phoenix, use a skill to flip up the Sabreeze, which, you know, you definitely won't need anymore, Time Leap the Urwatar, and call another Melem. So now he's going to be able to use Urwatar's skill once again, which is, you know, this is really showing how threatening Time Leap is and why it's topping so many tournaments. Because of a turn like this, it doesn't require that many cards, but the amount of pressure you make, the amount of multi-attacks you make, and the amount of card advantage you make is insane. So there we go, he's finished with Urwatar's skill. He's going to shuffle his deck and yeah, give it to his opponent to cut, and now his opponent still needs to decide how he wants to guard this attack. I believe he has a Perfect Guard in hand that he drive checked last turn, so it should be okay. And let's see what he decides to go with, because the attack on the side isn't that, I think it's still just 16 for now, but he does have to safe shield for that as well. But I don't think it's a problem at this very moment unless he gets a good amount of triggers. So he gets the Perfect Guard. And I believe in this moment, Jay asks to check if he has any other Perfect Guards in drop in case he can unflip, but doesn't. So now he drive checks the Stride Fodder, he gets the heal, which puts him back down to 4. And this is going to be good also for his next turn. And he gets extra power on Melem. And there's a crit, so that Melem is going to be swinging for 26 with a crit, which is very threatening. And I believe he only has, I think Nordine only has 2 cards in hand, and he has to give it up. So game 1 goes to Jay.